With the market rallying on a possible deal with Greece, is this the all clear for stocks, European or US? Joining me now is Paul Dietrich, CEO of Fairfax Global Markets. We all have Paul Christopher, Head of International Strategy at Wells Fargo Investment Institute. Pauls, thank you very much for joining us. Paul Dietrich, let me start with you. I know that you're in the camp that believes 6 months' time from now we're still going to be talking about Greece, for better or worse. The question, though, is what does the market do in the meantime?
Well, people have to understand that the proposal that the Greeks made today did not include any cuts in pensions or wages, and every single analyst who has worked on this says that the numbers will simply not work. And so we are going to get a 6-month reprieve. They're going to kick the can down the road. But in the end, really, it doesn't matter. Greece has the economy the size of Dallas. 75% of its debt is held by the banks, 25% by the ECB. That's all hedged. It's going to have no impact.
You say it doesn't have an impact and it doesn't matter, but look at the markets here.
It will have no impact on the economy. The markets are different. This is a blow to the European Union's self-esteem. It's a blow to the euro, and that's why they don't want this to happen. But that will drive markets down if there is a Greek exit.
Hold that thought, and I'll get to the other poll in a second. But we have some developing news right now. Back to Michelle Caruso-Cabrera in Athens. What are you hearing, Michelle?
Well, we just want to show you what's happened here with the protests. It's expanded, gotten much larger. These individuals very much want to stay in the European Union, stay with the euro, and they want the government to reach some kind of agreement. I've spoken with some protesters who said they want to be out here every day until an agreement is signed. If you take a look over my shoulder, some of them have actually managed to get up on the steps of Parliament. For the last couple of days, the protesters were allowed up there. Today, they've decided they're not going to allow that anymore. They've got the riot police set up on either side of the steps, and normally you can get up there. But people have managed to get up there. That's how they've draped that Greek flag that's hanging in the center. And you can see on either, I don't know quite where the photographer's pointing right now, but on either sets of steps, there are journalists hovering there to see if the protesters are going to try to somehow break through and get up onto the steps of Parliament. Thus far, though, very peaceful. A generally older crowd than we've seen in the past, because a lot of these people are middle class and feel very connected to the euro and feel very much that they will suffer if this country and the government actually doesn't come to some kind of agreement. You guys were talking about how the markets have rallied today, Mandy, on the assumption that things are getting closer than they have been before, and that's been a good sign. But still, these people came out tonight by the thousands to try and make clear that that's exactly what they want to happen. You can see the close-up there of the of the flag. Mandy, back to you.
Yep, thank you very much, Michelle. But still, we're talking about a rally, but we are coming off those highs of the day. Emotions are running high. We'll wait and see whether or not this stays peaceful. We certainly hope so. Let me get back to our guests here. Paul Christopher, what's your reading on what Greece means for us here in the United States and our markets?
If Greece leaves the Eurozone, that would mean a break in the union so that the currency would really be simply membership at will. That's not really the basis for a good union. I think we'd have to see some risk premium built into equities, bonds, and the euro itself. And as those sell-offs continue, you would see some spillover of disappointment, I think, into our markets, although not to the same extent.
So if there was any kind of Grexit, okay, if we don't get a deal, Paul Dietrich, if there was some kind of Grexit, what would it look like? Would it be, for example, a very knee-jerk, messy reaction in the markets here, maybe even globally, and then we move on, like a very short-term thing?
It will be a very short-term event. The markets will go down because this is a first-of-a-kind type of thing, and that usually happens. But the next day, everyone's going to look around and say, are people going and building cars in Germany? Did it have any effect on the banks? No. Did it have any effect on anything? When was the last time you imported anything from Greece? Never. And then 2 or 3 days later, the market's just going to recover because it has no impact.
Okay, but assuming we don't get to the stage of Grexit, Paul Christopher, is this a buying opportunity for the European markets? I know they've already come off some of the, the DAX was in correction territory. It's certainly come far from there, but nonetheless, is it still a buying opportunity for you?
Yeah, if we do not get a Grexit, if we get a deal, we think it probably is a buying opportunity, as we do see the economic expansion continuing, and we expect earnings to continue to improve, and importantly, revenues, which were a surprise in the first quarter, positive surprise.
Okay, we'll keep on watching. Paul Dietrich and Paul Christopher, thank you very much. I certainly feel like this is not the last of what we're going to be talking about with Greece. You can go to powerlunch.cnbc.com to see why Paul Dietrich says the Fed may not raise interest rates until late this year or even early next year. Brian?
Yeah, and one thing I'm just going to add before we get to our healthcare guest, guys, is this, and Michelle noted it's an older crowd. The retirement age issue. I said it on Squawk Box this morning. I was in Greece a number of years ago. So everybody brings up, they want to raise the retirement age, and people are, that's why it's an older crowd. They're ticked off about that part of the provisions.